the problem. Well, this is not like distance. And if it takes you, 3 hours to go from Dallas to Austin, it will take you 3 hours to go from Austin to Dallas. But that's not how political situations work. They're more like earthquakes. You have the pressure building up and building up and building up. All that pressure is building up underground. There's no visible evidence of that geologic pressure. But then, all of a sudden, the pressure breaks free, the ground shakes for a few minutes, buildings fall down, skyscrapers collapse, and you have this terrible earthquake. Politics is like that in very many ways. Look at the Berlin Wall. If I told you 30 days before the Berlin Wall came down that I thought the Berlin Wall was going to come down, you thought I was nuts. You'd have called in intervention. By virtue of the fact that the Berlin Wall had been there for decades and nothing visible had changed. Well, no, the wall was still physically there. The people were still separated by the wall. But what you did not see was the emotional stress that had been building up. And what resulted was a number of people decided, screw it, I'm walking across even if they shoot me. And a large number of people, I think it was like 24 people, crossed the bridge or the wall, and the soldiers did have bullets, but they didn't have enough bullets to shoot and kill everybody, and so the soldiers didn't know what to do. So once you had a small group of people cross over, then everybody went, oh, my God, me next. And like within a week, we were on the wall with sledgehammers breaking it down. So political change can happen very quickly. And it may not be overnight, it may not be in a week, but in 2 years, theoretically, we could be having another interview on this same outlet going, oh, my God, can you believe what's happened, since 2010? We came so close to communism.
Yeah. No, I agree there. Now, here's the question. Now, we know in the population centers of the United States, I use the United States as an example, there typically is about 3 days' worth of food before the food runs out. And when society breaks down in such a way, and we've seen examples of this in the past, what's the first thing that people do when they have a breakdown of society? What's the first thing to go?
I have never had that experience.
Well, let's just say the electronics and that kind of stuff. That's the first thing to go. And then it's the food, and then after the food runs out, then they go to the people with the food. So if it was me, I would not, and this is me, I don't live in a population center. I won't go anywhere near one as far as living is concerned. But I do believe that starvation leads people to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do because it's the human instinct to survive. At least that's been my experience, is that it's the human instinct to survive. And sometimes it makes you do some crazy things. I've spoke to Vietnam veterans over in Vietnam that'll tell you the same thing, that they would get stuck out in the bush and in the jungle for an extended period of time, and they tell me the same thing. That bug doesn't look so bad. Hey, it's protein.
I've eaten grasshoppers.
I haven't gone that far. I've had sea passions, which is about as bad as grasshoppers.
Well, I don't know. MREs are pretty good.
MREs are good. I'm talking about the tin cans. Now those were awful. Yeah. But that's my take on it, is that we really don't have an idea until we really cross that threshold. But we can deduce based on past behavior of certain, when certain times in history when society is broken down, we can get kind of an idea of how things would go. And my feeling on it is, if that's the case, the last place that I would want to be is a population center, because you want to talk about chaos.
Right. Well, most of your listeners are probably old enough to remember the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody is certainly old enough to remember New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people standing on top of the roofs of their house waiting for the government helicopter to come and rescue them, except that they are number 3,721 on the list. Things are going to be pretty chaotic, and you need to be able to, you need to be able to protect yourself and your family. And, you know, people may think that we are lunatic fringe talking about a year-and-a-half supply of food, converting to silver and gold, having, you know, guns and ammunition stored up. But if you don't believe that it's going to happen, you're not going to prepare. And when it does happen, my God, are you going to be sorry? You're going to be eventually become a statistic.
Well, how do you feel about that, Griff? What's your thoughts on that?
Michael, when do you think the actual visible breakdown will occur? What's your guess?
Oh, gosh. I was telling people we were going to have an economic collapse 10 years ago. I've been like Chicken Little running around going, the sky is falling. Mm-hmm. And, you know, people have already gotten tired of me saying that. I'm surprised that it's lasted as long as it has. But let me say that I don't think that Santa Claus is going to come next Christmas. Within the next 12 months.
Yeah, you think it's close to us. Do you believe that the situation in the Gulf of Mexico will add to or trigger economic collapse?
Which, the oil spill in the Gulf? Does that?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, everything is connected. I don't know what is going to trigger what. We've got this whole room full of dominoes that are really close together, and it only takes one to start tipping over all the others, and it's hard to say which one is going to be first.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's very difficult to guess at that. I do think the Gulf of Mexico oil volcano is a significant player in what's coming at us. I think it's just as dangerous, or maybe more dangerous today than it was months ago. And I think the oil is still flowing. I think they've lied to us on every level. Every time the government and BP has opened its mouth, it's been lying to the people about that. I think the oil is still coming out.
Our government would never lie to us. They've taken an oath to protect the Constitution. It would be treason to violate that oath.
The Constitution is not valid anymore.
Well, it is only as valid as Americans make it. I agree.
As the courts make it.
Well, as the people make it, because the courts
people have no say-so in that.
Well, they've got no say-so in the courts, but if we had 300 million Americans stand up tomorrow and say, "Okay, enough is enough. This slop is going to stop,"
but we don't.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I've got the solution to all the problems of the world. Just nobody listens to me, or if they listen, they don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been teaching my class on the Constitution for over 10 years now, and interest in the Constitution is increasing. And everybody's going, "Oh my God, this is like a great idea." In fact, it took the Tea Parties about 18 months to decide maybe they should study the Constitution. So the good news is that the pendulum is starting to swing. People are starting to mention the Constitution. They give it lip service. Now, they certainly don't understand it yet, but it's not the Constitution. It's not the piece of paper at the National Archive that is important. It is the ideas and the concepts written on that piece of paper that are important. We live in an ideological war. It's a war of words. It's a war of ideas. And the good guys are losing, A, because they didn't know there was a war, and B, they don't know how to fight this ideological war. You have to be able to detect a lie when they tell you, and you've got to be able to expose the lie and give people the truth. So that's the phase that we're going through. People are kind of waking up, and that's going to happen faster and faster as time goes on. And, again, I can't put a timeline on it, but when the American people stand up and say, okay, anybody currently in the government, anybody wearing a uniform, you're out of there. I mean, we are literally going to start indicting people and putting them in jail because we have the force to do it. You can have the idea, which is one thing, but then you have to have the ability to enforce the idea. And at this moment, the American people don't have the force necessary to enforce the Constitution, but I think we're moving in that direction.
You know, I kind of view it, Michael, as a launch point, if you will. People that haven't understood the Constitution can use it as a launch point to a deeper understanding of how things should be in a free society, and also it's a good waking up point, because when they have a baseline or a foundation that they can build this knowledge on, and that's a great foundation to build it on, even if right now it's kind of lost its relevance in a way, it still can have great bearing and great effect on people's ability to understand the current situation and just see how off-kilter it really is.
And when they first see it, they won't believe how off-kilter it is. They'll be in denial.
Right.
Again, you know, as a scoutmaster, I've seen a number of scouts with a map and a compass in their hand wandering around the woods lost. I mean, they've got the map, they've got the compass, they know that they are important, but they don't know how to use them. And people are very much like those scouts. They've got the Constitution in their hand, they're waving it in the air because the Constitution is important, but, you know, they keep attributing ideas to the Constitution that don't exist there. There was a judge, a gentleman named Learned Hand, I think that's an incredible name, but Learned Hand once said that most people believe that anything they like is constitutional and anything they don't like is unconstitutional. It doesn't work that way.
It sure doesn't. Now, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get to the phone lines. We got some callers in queue. We'll be getting to you. We'll be bringing you our nightly edition of King's Court. So everybody stay tuned. This is Freedomlink Radio on the Intel Hub Radio Network.
Most Americans know the significance of July 4th, 1776. However, few know the importance of September 17th, 1787, the day the Constitution was written and adopted by our founders. Unfortunately, over 200 years later, this sacred document is under attack, along with our beloved republic. Throughout the span of history, brave men and women have rallied behind banners, which have served as symbols of liberty against the forces of tyranny. Today, we have the Constitution Pride Flag to show our support for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, freedom, liberty, and justice for we the people of the United States. Now available at www.1787flags.com. Get your very own Constitution Pride Flag today and receive a free pocket Constitution with your order. www.1787flags.com. The official website of the Constitution Pride Flag. That's www.1787flags.com.
This is Shepard with the Intel Hub. Don't forget to check out my show weekdays at 3 p.m. Central on American Freedom Radio.
Did you ever wish that you could have done something while you still had the chance?